Hello, welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on Mix It Up Monday. This is a monthly hop that I host on the second Monday of every month in my Facebook community group. That group will be linked below. If you are not a member and would like to be a member, all you have to do is join and answer those membership questions and agree to the group rules. That is how I'm trying to weed out the scammers and etc. and people that really aren't there for scrapbooking. So please do that. Also, each month I get a sketch from somewhere in the community if I can. This year I think I've pulled them all from members of my Facebook community group, and this month's sketch was created by Brandy Joe. I'm going to pop that up here for you to see. It's a lovely sketch, and the premise of Mix It Up Monday is to use that sketch and mix it up with some mixed media. So what I have here for you is a piece of Vicki Boutin's foundation paper cardstock. I have some photos here. I am only going to use these 4 small ones. I didn't want to waste the paper, so I printed 2 other photos. These are photos from my 2025 cruise. I have Vicki Boutin's Where to Next sitting here. It's just the scraps, not the full collection. I do have a lot of the collection left, but I'm pulling out scraps for this layout. I also have some hearts, or some, clouds from Hip Kit. I might try to get those in there. And I have some chipboard as well. I think these were also from the Where to Next collection, and here is my title. Brandy's sketch has 2 landscape 3x4 photos. I have 4 portrait 2x3 photos that I'm going to use instead. You know me, trying to get as many photos onto a 1 page as I possibly can. So I'm going to pause and get started with this mixed media. I'll be right back. Alright, so I want to tell you first, Penny is in full form today, and she's yelling just because she can. There's nothing wrong with her, she's just yelling. So I'm going to take this yellow scrap here, and I am going to mat 3 of the 4 photos. I try to go ahead and cut a 4th mat for the 4th photo, which turns out to be not a portrait mode photo, but rather a landscape photo after all. Again, these photos are only 2x3, and when I cut out this piece, I realized that those balloons and that 4th photo are yellow, and the photo's really going to disappear on that yellow photo mat. So I will end up setting those 2 pieces that I cut to try to piecemeal another mat aside. I do believe I save those. I tend to save all of the scraps from certain designers like Vicki Boutin or any 49 and Market collection until all I have left are itty bitty pieces. So that being said, I've got this pink grid, diagonal grid piece. On one side it has tags and stuff to cut out, and I just cut one of, just one 2.25 by 3.25 photo mat for those yellow balloons. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to figure out, and that's where I noticed that photo was not a portrait photo, but a landscape photo, so I flipped it. It is going to work out just fine on here. But what I'm doing is I'm kind of placing those photos and the striped piece of paper that I'm using on here, just so that I have a good idea of where everything is going to fit on the layout, so that when I go to put this chipboard on here, I'm not covering it up with my photos. So this helps me decide where things are going. You can do it this way, like I've done here, or you can go ahead and just mark it out. I've done both. This time I am leaving those photos there as I place this chipboard. You may wonder what I'm doing here. I am going to make texture with this chipboard and paint and gesso. And so I'm trying to use up as many pieces of this chipboard as I possibly can. The reasoning for that is it's been in my stash a while. It's in my way. It's hard to store because I'm keeping it separate from my other chipboard. So why not use it? What's left over there off to the side, I may just throw in with my regular chipboard just so that it's not in the little plastic and envelope that I was storing this stuff in. And that way I can use it at another time. It's not that I dislike the chipboard, it's just, it's in the way. So I glued down, or I am gluing down all of that chipboard to make sure that I still have that spot for my photo. And here's the fun part. I am pouring gesso directly onto my paper, and I'm using a regular paintbrush. Normally I would use a foam paintbrush for this because I prefer how that works in my hands. I feel like it makes less lines, it's easier to use, but in this instance I am not sad about the lines. Again, it just adds a little bit more texture. So I'm trying to cover up this chipboard as much as possible. I am going to paint over it. For the most part, you won't see any of the dark lines, or that the fact that one of the hearts is black and one of the stars is, I think it was blue or green. You won't be able to notice that as much. I am going to get full coverage on this foundation's paper as much as I possibly can. And I'm even trying to get into the crevices here because I will put paint there as well. I will be using Vicki Boutin's acrylic paint that I got, I think, either at Joann's or perhaps in a peachy cheap purchase. I have several of the colors. I want to say I got them all at Joann's. I am also going to say I don't care for this paint at all. I think this might be one of the first times that I've used it, especially in this manner. I am just not happy with the way the paint laid down. It was thinner than the paints that I usually use. I usually just use those cheap dollar bottles that you can get at Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Joann's. Well, when Joann's was open, or Michael's. If I'm needing a specific color, I'll go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Most of the time I just get it at Walmart and it works great. You'll just have to see how this paint goes down. I had trouble with mixing it, and I'm also going to put out right here at the top. I am not happy with how this background turned out, and I fussed over it for quite a while trying to make it the way that I like. And to be honest with you, I may still take this layout completely apart and redo it off camera. I don't know, but I'm going to leave this video up because I want to practice what I preach. It's just paper and product, and if you make a mistake or you don't like it, it's okay to trash it. So I've got the gesso on there. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry for a bit, and we'll be right back. Oops, sorry, I got my hair in there a little bit. A couple times, actually. I don't know quite what I'm doing there. I think I might be trying to sit down, and there was something preventing me from rolling my chair. So as you can see, that one has never been open. It starts squirting out of the cap rather than the bottom, and when I take it off, I realize that there is like a film where the paint is already drying up at the top. It makes a huge mess on the bottle, and so what you see there is a very old cloth. It was actually one of my oldest children's burp rags. At one point, I used all of those little cloth diapers as burp rags, and when my kids all got too big for it, they became dust rags, and that one became a rag that I used to clean off paint. It is full of ink, paint that never will wash out, and I'm okay with that. So my thought process was I was going to create kind of a radiating out circular pattern, so that's why I'm doing this in a circle. Now I want to put it out here. I'm not a painter. That would be my little sister. She can paint like no tomorrow. She's a fabulous painter. I am not. In fact, a couple of my kids can paint. I don't paint. I do mixed media, but I don't paint. So I do okay with the first two colors, the darker orangey yellow and the lighter yellow blend the way I intended them. I am not, I just tapped Penny on the nose with the paintbrush because she won't leave me alone. I am not worried about the paint lines. Again, this is a mixed media layout. I'm not trying to be precise. I'm not trying to make an absolute masterpiece here, but I am trying to create some visual texture with the paint, and I don't know if I succeed here or not. Like I said, I'm not sure, and in the end that I'm really tickled with this layout. So I do like that I used up several pieces of that chipboard that has been hanging around in my stash forever and a day, and that makes me happy. What I should have done right here was I should have added some of the orange and mixed it. I was hoping it would mix on the paper. It does not. And that's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine, right? And so this is where I bring in my foam brush because I don't like how that pink paint is going on the paper at all. But it is going on, so that's great. Maybe if I'd made more time for this layout, I could have gotten a better result. But again, I want you guys to see that we all play and sometimes we fail with mixed media. And, you know, that's how we learn, is by failing. I don't necessarily think failing in this is a bad thing because, again, it's how we learn. You learn how to use certain products. I learned that I won't be using this paint for this technique again. I think it would be great with a stencil. I think it would be great with bubble wrap or other things to press on. I just didn't care for the way this paint felt or went down on my paper. So, and that may just be a me thing. It may be perfectly fine for one of you to use it this way, and it may work just fine. I don't know. I didn't care for it. It's slightly glossy. I'm not fond of glossy, as you probably know. I just didn't care for it. Now I'm ending up with more of a square rather than a circle. Again, not pleased. So I'm going to get this fourth color on here, and Penny's going to get right in the way with her little tail. That's me holding that little bushy tail away from the paint. There is a clip in this video where I fight with her quite a bit. I think I pulled the clip out though, so you don't actually get to see it. I am kind of trying to put a second coat of that pink in places because, like I said, this paint was a lot thinner than the other paint that I use, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe I just need to work with it more. You know how it is. Again, this may work great for other things like a gel plate or something like that. I just didn't care for it for this technique, and that is okay. You're allowed to not like a product, and you personally are allowed to enjoy this product. I think also I should have chosen the darker blue that I had, but I wanted this light blue because it's pretty, and I was hoping to get a little bit of purple perimeter in between those two colors. It kind of does, not really. Again, this is just not going well. I, at this point, am thinking it looks like a kindergartner did this, and I'm not happy with it, but I'm just going to keep going. Some of you may know this. My grandmother died last week, and when this video goes live, we'll be about ready to pack up and head to our home state for her funeral. I don't have time to redo this layout right now, so I'm trying to make this background work, and I don't know, we'll have to see what you think of the finished product. You can let me know. Again, maybe I should have brought in that darker color. I don't know. So I'm just kind of getting the blue on there with the paint now. I'm not going to use the foam brush with this one. It seems like this paint is a little bit smoother, I think is the word I'm looking for. I'm mixing it with the pink a little bit to kind of make a funky purpley look in between the pink and the blue, but really it just kind of smears it. All right, so now I'm bringing in, I think this is Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide, and I'm just splattering. Really pretty color. This is the segment where Penny is really in the way. She's very curious about that bottle of spray. I think she could smell it and was trying to decide whether or not it was food. I have, of course, taken the audio out of the clip so you can't hear it. But at one point, she sticks her little nose right in that larger drop. And I tell her, don't lick it, leave it alone. Anyway, she does what she does. She does what she wants most of the time. I think at one point I also painted her nose. And see, she's right there in that white. I am getting to the bottom of my white, I think it's White Linen by Delusions spray, and that's okay. So now I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start building this layout to see if I can salvage my background. So you already saw how I was going to end up laying out those photos and that strip of pattern paper. Everybody say hello to Jasper. He's easy to distract and get him to move out of the way for the most part. I think my window was open on the other side of the table, and so he just went over there. Now here's where I'm kind of messing around with that fourth photo. Initially I had it up on the second photo, just underneath that second photo. But I decided that I liked it there because it allowed that Y to not cover up as much. And I wanted to use these letters here. I believe they're either Sweet Rush or Color Study. I threw away the packaging, so I couldn't tell you for sure. They match both. They also go fairly well with Bold and Bright if I'm honest. So anyway, I'm not keeping them with a collection. They're going in my thicker stash for me to pull out at a later time. I've got these felt Hip Kit clouds. Those are really nice. And then I have the puffy stickers from Where to Next. And I thought I would put a couple clusters of both the clouds and the hearts on here. I'm also going to be putting my journaling on here in a minute. All right, I got this layout done. It's very much a mixed media layout. It's messy and colorful and has texture and all that fun. And I've got my photos on there and I've got my title and everything glued down. I printed my journaling out with the help of Canva, added the clouds and the hearts, and that is it for this Mix It Up Monday layout. So here's where I decide to do something crazy. I pull out 2 little pots of shimmers. This one is called Ruby Slippers. I thought it would be more red than it is. It's kind of a purpley red. First I thought maybe it was because it was on the blue paint, but really the true color comes out and it looks just like it does in the pot. So I don't know. What I am trying to do is maybe to have less of a defined line between the blue, the pink, and the yellow. So that is kind of my purpose here. This is not something that I would normally do. I'm going to bring in that yellow here in a minute too. So I do want to point out, while this video is of a background that I completely dislike, the actual technique is something that I enjoy doing. The chipboard with the gesso and the paint. I adore that technique and I've used it successfully in the past. And so I want to say that you can still do this technique, but also you can learn from me and maybe try your paint out on a separate sheet of paper first. But I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you're new here, I don't always do silly stuff like this. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, so click that button down below. If you have any comments or questions about the technique that I did in this layout, please drop those below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Make sure you check out those Instagram participants and the playlist below. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.